we've gone green. BP Ultimate Pit Lane now open and cars roll out. Remembering, and we can't really help ourselves, we'll get all carried away about the peak numbers, and I can guarantee there'll be curb strikes and there'll be people making mistakes. But the thing that really matters here is whether or not you can clear a position into the top 10. And so we will actually set the grid from positions 11 to 25. There's 20 minutes to ply your trade out there today. So big trouble here for Jake Kostecki. Damage on another Tickford car, the last thing that they need at the moment. Red flag.
And did Waters get across the line for that time?
I think he did, well, according to the monitor, but whether they correct it. Here's the reason for the red flag. We're riding with Chaz Mostert, and Jake's got really wide in the left-hander at 12. He's out in the marbles there, hasn't been able to steer it, and he's just punched into the fence on the right side. That's our shot from the other angle. So turning off Breaker Street into Sarisia Avenue, you don't have to go very far and wide on a street circuit. There's a couple of things that mitigate against you. One is the rubber build-up on the outside, and the dirt and debris is really grubby early, and you can even see evidence of the dust there. Van Gisbergen in the mid-sector, on target to potentially get to the top. There's about 9 seconds of right-hand rear tyre load coming out of that final corner. So the Dunlop soft tyre works overtime in the process. Look to see whether Van Gisbergen now can challenge Davison, and he does. It's a 10-6, and that is a big, big number.
Cam Waters for the weekend, Neil.
He's got pace out there at the moment. James sitting in 19th, and now leaps 14 spots up into 5th. And we've got trouble here for Hazelwood. He's nudged her into the tyres, so the right front corner will be looking sad.
And will this bring the red flag out? How's that job by James Golding? Right frontal lock. Oh, it's actually on, that's with Slade. Sorry, I thought we were on board quickly with Todd. But that was the issue around the right-hand kick, is that you lock the right front and you've got to try to get rid of the wheel lock and then flick it to the left, which then locks the left front, and then you go in the tyres.
Fully committed lap by Chaz Mostert. The flow of the car through the chicane was fabulous. He whacked the wall there yesterday, and he's just brushed that left-hand passenger mirror up against the concrete wall and plucked the mirror back straight off it. Carried speed beautifully across the apex of the final corner, and he's on target here to be able to vault himself further into this top 10. He's currently sitting 10th. He will improve. And he's gone to P2 on a 10.7. He's 0.1 behind Van Gisbergen. But for Van Gisbergen, it's a quiet sip, because he knows he's got control of the field at the moment. 0.4 of a second near enough for Van Gisbergen over Mostert. And Reynolds absolutely snatches that one out of the fire and moves it up with a great lap into position number 6.
Excellent lap, David Reynolds. 10.92. Have a look at the margins. If you take that mad gap from first to second, there's 0.39 from first to second. Once you get from second to 10th, there's less than 2 tenths across the rest of the top 10.
This is Nick Percat on screen here, the NTI entry, trying to squeak some more pace out of it. He's done an 11.3. That lap that we just picked him up, he crossed the line with an 11.1, a fully committed in that lap, but not enough to be able to vault him.
I think we're done, aren't we?
Brodie Kostecki, George Commons just told him we're a little bit tight on fuel. I think we're done, because that's the other thing. They don't overfuel them in qualifying. They don't want to carry the kilos. So the checkered flag, as you may have spotted there on the right-hand side, well and truly out. And Van Gisbergen back in the garage, relaxed with a margin that's pretty hefty, 0.39 of a second officially. Talking to Andrew Edwards. Good to see him out of the boot of the car. And then Mostert, then Kostecki, Davison, Courtney. And for those that didn't see the coverage at Mount Panorama in celebration of the victory, he's a very quiet, a highly technical gentleman, Andrew Edwards, and for him to participate in the humour of being in the back of the car at the end of the race was very un-Andrew-like. But he's got more things on his mind there at the moment. So here's our session results. That determines Armour All qualifying for our 31st race in our championship this year, and that'll be our first of 2 this weekend coming up this afternoon. Van Gisbergen, Mostert, Kostecki, Davison, Courtney, Reynolds, Heimgartner, Randall, Waters and De Pasquale. They advance into the Armour All top 10 shootout. Then Pye, Percat, Winterbottom, Golding, Feeney, Pither, Brown, LeBrock, Holdsworth, Slade, Fullwood, Jones, Smith, Hazelwood and Jake Gostecki with damage earlier on. They have their grid position set now for the race coming up the Savo.